Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan in the background, and this is a screenwriter's rant on King Knight. I guess you call this a comedy? It's not billed as a comedy. About a guy who's a witch who has an existential crisis. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Excuse me. Check out my books. Links in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys. We got a lot of witches in the Pineys, especially book 2. So check it out at Amazon. A Kindle Unlimited is free. Joan? Did Joan leave? Joan just... She's in a weird mood today. Anyhow, the premise of the movie, it's kind of a comedic premise, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's cut like a comedy, the trailer, but the basic premise is he's in this relationship with this girl, and they're both in a witch's coven, like a modern one. And all their friends are all about the witches and their various things involved in that world. And she finds out that he used to be prom king. He used to be this very normal guy who played lacrosse. And it's this shocking thing that the coven can't handle. So they want to kick him out of the coven. And he has to go deal with his past. So he goes to his 20-year reunion. He goes on a walkabout, which is, sort of a mystical thing about, figuring out who you are kind of thing. And Bloody Disgusting calls it a heartfelt ode to being true to yourself. And he's got a mom who he hasn't talked to. He told his girlfriend she was dead. And he has a crazy mystical experience. And then it's about, is he going to go back to his old life, or is he going to go back to his girlfriend, who's a witch? Is he in the right life or not? So, written and directed by Richard Bates Jr. It looks pretty cool. It's called King Knight. I don't get where they call it King Knight. I don't get what that references to. I would have called it something witch, so it seems like an odd name, King Knight, but whatever. I can live with that name. It just doesn't seem to help it. It didn't help you to watch the movie, and it doesn't seem like very over the top, right? So it doesn't seem like a comedy, more like a dramedy, which I kind of go, eh. But the girl who plays his girlfriend, I guess that's Angela Safarian. I've seen her in stuff before, and she's actually very funny. And she's perfect for this role as sort of a hippy-dippy witch girl. But the question is, what does this movie make fun of? Does it make fun of people who live the trad lifestyle, essentially, which is what he's from originally, or does it make fun of the witches, or both? Does it go after the comedy jugular, or in the end, does it say, oh yeah, those bunch of trad normies, nobody wants to be that? I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell from this trailer. I think if I was writing it, the natural progression would be he seems to love his girlfriend, so he goes back to her and she accepts him for who he is, and then maybe the coven kicks them both out, or maybe they just accept that he has a past. It's weird, though. It's a bit of a weird setup that they're so mad at him for saying, hiding his past, that he was because who cares? He was prom king and played lacrosse and was like a normal trad guy and then became a witch. I mean, that's usually the story of a lot of those people, because it's not like there's a lot of witches in the United States that bring up their kids in the witch world and they stay there because it's so awesome or whatever. It's usually people who find themselves and then sort of lean into Wicca or whatever, because they like it. They usually come from traditional backgrounds because they kind of saw traditional religion, and then they see this odd religion, odd to me anyway, being a witch or whatever, and they say, oh, this is kind of fun, and they find a community. So I guess he's trying to do a movie that's sort of a comedy, but doesn't knock witches too hard. I would knock the witches hard because they're weird. They're weird. I would knock the trads too, but it's about, like the trailer says, being who you are. And at the end, I think he should just be who he is, and really, if the coven kicked you out, I wouldn't go back to those a-holes. But certainly his girlfriend, that's his love, right? So that's something. I think I'm a bit on the fence, but I think this will be good. I think this will be good. It comes out this year. I mean, it looks like a low budget thing. Man, I really like the look of her and the whole. I like making fun of the witches more than I like making fun of the trads, because that's what we did back in the 80s. We made fun of traditional things, and this stuff was cool. So I would want them to make fun of the witches more. I think there's more fertile ground there to do new stuff. But I would see this movie. I kind of like it. Yeah, I'm a bit on the fence, but I'm leaning towards seeing it. I would stream it. But it looks a little different. It looks like it at least has something to offer here. It doesn't look, it doesn't look woke. It looks weird. It looks a bit odd. I like that. So it's called King Night. First act, it's about their wacky witch world community, and they have an argument over the fire that they're going to build for the coven for some ceremony, and they're mad because they wouldn't let them build a big fire, and they only let them have like a symbolic candle, and so the guys protest. Maybe the females are in charge because it's a community of witches, and the coven has witches in charge, so maybe there is a little like implied wokeness in it, but I don't know. If they're making fun of it, that's fine then. So at the end of the first act, his girlfriend finds out about his past, brings it in front of the coven. He goes on a walkabout. In the second act, has to confront his past. Goes back to his 20-year reunion, reconnects with his mother, has a mystical experience. And then in the third act, it's about, does he go back to his old life, or does he go back to the witches? And in the end, I think he goes back to his girlfriend. I don't know if he totally goes back to the community. Maybe there's I would like to see a character arc where he brings some of his old, now that he's accepted for his former life, he brings a little bit of that to the witch community and improves it somehow. So it's called King Night. So look for it probably within the next 2 months. I mean, they didn't put a date here. I wish they would. I would expect it to go right to streaming, probably. Maybe in the art house theaters. All right, that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Don't forget, we'll be streaming tomorrow around 2. If I could figure out, my boomer senses can figure out all the streaming again. I'm going to try to go back to StreamYard and use that. But check us out on Bitchute, Rumble, and Odysee for a huge Hollywoke hot take. I lost my damn mind and ranted about G4, so check that out, and we'll see you in the next one.